The Walking Dead, both the comic and the TV show, has always pitched itself as a different kind of zombie story. Back when the universe first kicked off, comic creator Robert Kirkman decided that he wanted to avoid all of the different cliches that the subgenre had leaned on in story after story before he started. Consequently, the narrative wasn't about the start of an apocalypse or about a bunch of survivors trying to stop something before it's too late and takes over the world. This was very much a post-apocalypse rather than an apocalypse, and the whys and hows of why everything started were kept deliberately vague or just never addressed at all to put viewers and readers in the same shoes as the characters. However, this meant never revealing exactly why the zombie outbreak happened in the first place, which you would imagine is a pretty big deal from a story perspective. Though not touching on this element actually fit the themes and the characters themselves. After all, it wouldn't make sense for this band of rough-and-tumble warriors just trying to live day to day to suddenly acquire the knowledge behind why everything is the way it is. Perhaps even more importantly, it wouldn't benefit them to go searching for these answers either. They're not a band of top-tier scientists trying to find a magical cure that will somehow save the entire world. This wasn't a story like that, of course. That still hasn't stopped fans over the years agonizing over what could have been the root cause of everything going on and what could have caused the zombies themselves. Ever since the TV show brought the characters to the CDC back in 2010, giving them more knowledge about the nature of the virus than their comic counterparts ever had, fans have wondered whether or not the writers would ever go there and outright confirm exactly what happened. Well, after 10 years of theories, it seems as though the origins of the walkers might have finally been properly explained, and funnily enough, this explanation hasn't come in the mainline show. That's because the Walking Dead spin-off World Beyond recently aired its 7th episode and gave us the biggest piece of the puzzle yet. This episode flashes back to the very early first stages of the apocalypse, so far back in fact that the military is still kind of up and running. In fact, one military man in particular is shown talking about the origins of the zombie outbreak, implying that he heard from someone else that the virus actually came from space. He says, "I heard it came back in a rocket that it started in space. Somebody breathed in it, turned their stomachs, and then they got on a plane." Of course, even in the context of the episode, this is very much kind of presented as a rumor. And the whole thing does have a, "my dad heard it from a mate who heard it from Bob down in construction" kind of vibe to it. But strangely enough, it does also act as a reference to something Robert Kirkman said on Twitter earlier this year. That's because at the very start of 2020, the comic creator was just asked point blank on Twitter what caused the zombies, to which he simply replied, "Space spar." Now, I do want to stress that he did later admit that he was just messing around and that he was really kind of frustrated with everyone taking this at face value. However, it wouldn't be totally out of character for this notorious joker to just reveal something so big so flippantly on Twitter and then kind of just pass it off as a little joke. After all, he did want to admit that he does know the source of the zombie outbreak and confirmed that it's dumb. Now, I don't know about you, but to me a virus from outer space certainly fits that bill. So he said he was joking, but this episode certainly does throw more gas onto that fire. Now, it's unlikely that the show itself or anyone involved will say definitively one way or another what caused the zombie outbreak. But for now, this idea of it coming from outer space is certainly the prevailing theory, and it makes sense coming in this way because The Walking Dead, World Beyond has given us a much better look at the big picture of this universe than any of the other shows or even the comics. The series so far has already teased shady organizations and scientists potentially looking for a cure to help everyone. So if any of the shows were going to posit a proper theory for this mystery, it absolutely would be this one, and we know this lore is going to play into the Rick Grimes movie, should they ever come out, which is again going to delve further into the bigger machinations of this story. So there you have it, it came from outer space. Is that satisfying? I'm not entirely sure, but there is enough ambiguity there for you to not ascribe to this at all.